Bonjour! Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Fasten up your seatbelt and enjoy this journey into Mew's world with Lamia Norbert.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to a new episode of Me as Well. Today, my guest is a very dear friend of mine. Sam is an alignment and breakthrough specialist, a certified master coach, and a practitioner. He's the co-founder of Conscious Trading Academy and the co-founder of New Mind Chaga. But above and beyond, he's like a brother to me. Hi, Sam.
Hi, Mia. It's good to be back and good to see you.
Thank you for coming on board.
Well, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Thank you for the time. How's everything? How's life?
Good. Busy. Trying to find balance in everything that's going on. But can't complain, man. It's a blessing to do something you love. And I'm really blessed for that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
Listen, Sam, I think if you've listened to my previous episode, I like to go into the early years.
Okay.
Because I truly believe early years is what marked us and helped us to be where we are today. This is how we navigate through life, I would say.
Yeah.
So I want to know a bit more about your early life, like your early years. Where are you exactly from?
Okay. So, interesting. I never really got this question before. Usually people focus on what I'm doing, but so my background, originally my mom's French, from a place called Angers, south of Paris.
Yeah.
And my dad is from Jerusalem, Palestinian origin. And I was born in Dubai. They met in Dubai, and my sort of upbringing till the age of 13 was here. And then due to my parents being from different parts of the world, that required me to travel quite a bit and move around quite a bit throughout my childhood.
Okay.
So I lived in a few different countries, from living in France to Jordan to the US, and then ending up in South Africa, Cape Town.
Okay.
Which is originally where my mom, when she was 18, she left to South Africa, Cape Town, South Africa. And so that always used to be sort of my connection with my home in terms of away from home when I used to travel. And then from there, my life led me to getting into, like everyone else, conditioned to go to uni. And I started my journey and my education in business marketing and advertising, moved into advertising technology, started my journey in South Africa for a global brand. I learned quite a bit in that. And then I got headhunted to move to Dubai in about 2013.
All right.
Yeah. And then when I came to Dubai, that was my first experience of getting out of my comfort zone and jumping into the unknown, coming back to Dubai after all these years. Because I only left when I was 13, but I mean, we're talking 20 odd years later.
Yeah.
Ended up coming back again. And when I got back here, I started in the same field, which was advertising technology. And I worked my way up throughout 6 years I spent there. I became the regional business director. I was managing different teams. And that's where my real journey actually started, which is the transition and the shift that we can get into.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's pretty much a bit about my background. Any other questions around that?
Yeah. So now that I understand a little bit more, tell me a bit what I like to know is when you take that step, you're like, okay, the new job is here. Was there any second doubt, or did you just embrace it and you were like, okay, I'm going to take the opportunity, open mind, and jump forward and look forward?
Yeah, I think it's very interesting because, of course, where I am today, I studied a lot the mind, and I look back sometimes and I understand how our mind works. We have something called the psychocybernetic mechanism, which holds us and keeps us in the familiar, what is known as our comfort zone.
Yes.
And anytime we have something in our life, an opportunity or an experience that requires us to step into something unknown, the autonomic response to that is behavioral. You start to find reasons why you shouldn't.
Yeah.
Because it wants to keep you safe, right? So I had that experience moving from South Africa to Dubai. And in fact, the first 3 months in Dubai, I remember this to today, I was looking for any opportunity to make me go back. So I was like, anything that sort of, I'm over it. I want to go back. Because I was constantly in that transition,
Yeah.
And it was quite lonely when I came to Dubai at the start because I came alone and I didn't know anyone and I wanted to start all over again, which requires a lot of courage for that age specifically when I did it. And then after that, you sort of adapt and adopt. But for me, it became more of a curiosity, more of a seeking to want to experience something new.
Yeah.
And I think that was my fuel at the time, where I was sort of getting tired of the routine and the norm. Although Cape Town, if your audience is listening, probably who's been there, they would know it's one of the most beautiful places in the world. It's really hard to leave nature in its divine beauty, you know?
Yeah.
But there was something more which was in me that I was striving to create or to do something new. And I think also the pressures of our conditioning growing up, where you want to grow, you want to make money, you want to, start to get up in the ladder. And South Africa's had, what still is, it's very limited to a degree. Like you can grow, but it takes longer.
Yeah.
The opportunities are less. So that was one of the also sort of driving forces of me coming to Dubai and giving it a go.
Yeah.
And luckily, I'm very grateful that I did that. Like today, I look back, I was like, okay, that was amazing. Although tough and very hard at the beginning, but it was one of the best decisions I've made.
I can really relate to what you're saying, because I've said that to many of my guests, and my fellow listeners, must have heard that story on and on. But again, when I first came here, it was hard. I was living in the UK before.
Mm-hmm.
I loved it over there. There was something very authentic about London that I truly loved, and I just could not connect here in Dubai. And then I remember I had that one conversation with my mom where I was telling her, I feel like my body is here, but my soul is in London. And she's like, but you are the only one that can recall that. And just when after that conversation, it was just these few words that was like, okay, mindset change.
Yeah.
Live it day by day. Take it day by day. And just like that, everything was just falling into places. Started to get my apartment, drive, kind of finding a routine, meeting new people, and then here we are.
Amazing. I think that's what it is. It really requires us to focus in the now moment, The more we are here now, we can control what we can control in the moment. Usually the fear of things going wrong is when our mind starts to paint scenarios that's not going to work out.
Yes.
And that's where we start to feel uncomfortable, right?
Yes.
And what you did is focus your attention day by day now, and that served you.
Exactly.
Yeah, amazing.
And so you come here. I would like to dig a little bit deeper into the lonely phase that you went through.
Yeah.
How did you overcome that? Being alone here and having no family or no friends yet.
Well, I had to wait for about 3 months, which was quite tough, until Stacey, my wife, joined me, which made it much more easier. And then slowly, immediately when she was there, definitely it made things easier because I wasn't alone. But it was also a hard phase for her as well, because that was her first time living outside of South Africa. So it was really so I had to sort of be there for her to get settled in. And I remember her arriving, when she first arrived, it's funny, just coming to mind, she arrived in the middle of July, around 15th of July or something. And the heat in July, she walked out the airport, literally open airport. And she, that thing that turns around, the door, she turned back. She's like, no ways, I'm going back. So I think my mind was more occupied with getting her settled in. And that went obviously well eventually. It took some time to both of us to settle, but it was really a good transition. Now, what I did in that period when I was feeling lonely or it was hard for me, I was really putting my attention and focus in making the work, succeed. I was focused on work. So what occupied my mind is just work.
Yes.
Although I had many surprises at early stage of coming to my role, one of which I'm happy to share. So day one, I get headhunted on one of the co-founders. So he's like the board. I knew him through a previous interaction, and he just thought I was good for the job to work with media agencies. So I arrived, and day one, the head at the time of Dubai, day one as I arrived, she's like, what are you doing here? So that was my welcome.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, like literally, why are you here? Why did they hire you? And I was like, wow, I was confused. I'm like, how come she's the head of the UAE, and I'm getting this feedback. So that was already a bit of a shock,
Yeah.
where there was causing doubt and confusion of what I need to do. But that was also fuel to not allow someone that felt that wasn't welcoming me to be in the way. And I actually worked myself up to being the regional director, and she left the company.
Ah, okay.
Because what was happening behind the scenes, that there was lack of performance, and when I came in, things started to happen. So that was the threat.
Okay, all right.
The threat, right?
Yeah,
So that was an interesting period of my journey. That obviously I started growing, and it led me to ticking all those boxes that we tend to tick.
Yeah.
Like, oh, now I have a bit of money, I can buy my dream car, because I was very successful, and I was making fairly good money. Because as you in the ad tech space and media and advertising, specifically if you're an ad tech platform, and you're in business development, you could make fairly good commission, good bonuses, etc. So that spiked me up quite quickly in a couple of years. And then I started ticking the boxes, as I said, the car, the house, but then I became more and more empty, more and more void. I felt something was missing. And that's when I came to realize that I needed to seek something with more purpose.
Okay.
Which again led me to going back into the unknown again, which was harder than the first time, because the first time you're going into the unknown, but there's some certainty.
Yes.
Now it required me to step out into the unknown and restart completely. And a lot of people in my space, including very close people to me, excluding my wife, were very confused.
Okay.
Because I was a regional business director, and how do you want to leave all of that title and money and you've built yourself up to this? Why do you want to leave? It doesn't make sense. It's on the old level of conditioning, right? Because we've been conditioned to think certainty is what we need.
Exactly.
So that was my transition into stepping out, and then deciding to, for the first time in my life, I traveled quite a bit, but it was the first time in my life I decided to travel alone.
Okay.
I've never traveled alone till I was like coming to think about it, because I always like people around me when I travel, with friends. And I went to a place called Pokhara. Have you heard of Pokhara?
No.
It's in Nepal. So you fly to Kathmandu. It's near the Mount Everest.
Okay.
So you fly to Kathmandu, the capital.
Okay.
And you take a flight. It's about a 2-hour flight, and you go to a place called Pokhara, which is a very powerful, energetic, spiritual place. And I don't know what called me, because I actually planned to go to Sri Lanka, and then there was do you remember the explosions that happened in Sri Lanka?
Yes.
So I had I had everything booked.
Okay.
And then I had to cancel everything and go to that was my next option, Nepal. And my intention with that trip was to find answers.
Okay.
To find my, what is really, because I used to struggle the last year or two. Maybe the last year actually of my career in my previous life. I used to get up every day, and I used to have this heaviness in my chest, this feeling that I was fighting myself to go, because I was like, I'm making money, that's supporting my family, that's, it's supporting my everyone around me, it's giving me the life I need, and it's just about the money, and that became the battle between my inner soul and purpose versus making the money, and I couldn't handle that anymore. I had to get to a level where I had to jump into the unknown, So going to Pokhara, just back to give you a bit of a background story. So get there, I go and I travel. I literally go up the mountains. I was like a monk. I shaved my head.
No way.
I swear, I don't know why. I didn't plan it. I was sitting there one day and I was like, I feel like it's hot and I just want to, so I'm just gonna shave a little bit. I was like doing this and I made such a mess.
And you just went bald.
And I had to go bald. And Stacey thought I was losing my mind. Like, this guy is like the Ferrari that sold, the monk that sold the Ferrari. Yeah.
I was gonna say,
I didn't sell my Audi though. But it was so it was interesting. But I really truly asked for guidance. I went there because I never had that time alone to reflect. I think that's a powerful thing. Like I feel nowadays we don't take enough time away from everything outside of us and go inwards and go, what makes me happy? What do I want to do? What is my calling? What is my excitement? You know, a lot of people forgot to go back to the excitement of life and what excites them, the passion, and that's, fundamentally in my model of the world, one of the fundamental principles is to follow your excitement and
Yeah.
to pursue that, you know?
Honestly, the amount of thing that I want to tell you, Sam, I can relate to you. Like literally, it's incredible because I'm so happy you mentioned about solo traveling. This is something that I've done this year actually, and it was to
Nice.
Sri Lanka.
Nice.
Bear in mind, I was supposed to go to Colombia with my friends. We were supposed to do a girls trip. Visa issues, I was never getting, and I really wanted to get out of Dubai. I needed to travel. And I just looked, okay, what's close to Dubai? Somewhere like nature-wise. And I was like, okay, Sri Lanka, done. Booked the ticket, booked an accommodation, and I just left.
Amazing.
I remember the Sunday before, that was my last Sunday at Mulai before I was going to travel. I went to Ian, I'm like, Ian, I am scared. I've never, ever traveled alone in my life. I've always had my mom, my dad, my friends, always had people around me. He's like, don't worry, it will be a great experience. That's all he said. I said, okay, let's go. My friend dropped me at the airport. My heart was pounding. I was like, oh my God, what am I doing? Like, what on earth am I doing? I arrived to Sri Lanka. I have a few accommodation issue on the basic, because I arrived very late and I was in Negombo. And then the following morning, I was going to my actual accommodation where I had some issues.
Okay.
And then I started to panic. I was messaging Ian, I was messaging Fabio, I was messaging all the people that I know. I was like, okay, I need to find another accommodation. I can't stay here. Found another one. And then I had a call with my friend and I told her, I don't know why I'm doing this. She's like, relax. She's like, you don't need to go explore the whole place. Maybe that's just a time for you to just sit and be, because I'm always doing so many things here in Dubai. And she's like, just sit and be. And I was like, okay, cool. And that was honestly the most
Medicine.
beautiful trip I've had in my life.
Oh,
like
wow.
the way and I'm so grateful to Mo, who was there, to Fabio, to Habiba. There was Nizar, everybody from Sri Lanka. Honestly,
people.
Asma, there was her sister, Nihal. We were a good little bunch that was the end of the trip. And it just turned out to be such a magical moment where we all just bonded very naturally. And it was just beautiful. I came back from Sri Lanka completely different.
Wow.
It was beautiful.
See, like there was a lot of resistance in the beginning.
Yes.
And as you surrendered, everything fell into place.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like a tick and you change your mind and you just like, oh, let go. You know?
Yeah.
And it's crazy how your mind can actually play so many games with you. This is why we're going to now understand. Explain to me how you leave a marketing job into being an alignment, a breakthrough coach. Tell me about that transition.
Sure. So
what is that thing that made you want to take that step?
Well, before, even while I was in my career in ad tech, I've always been a big fan of understanding how the mind works. It's just been a curiosity for me, more for how can I get better cognitive behavior? How can I become more sharp? Or how can I make sure that, my confidence levels are good throughout my career? So I've always been interested in mind, anything around mindset. And I used to read a few books and I used to watch a few, podcasts, or should I say at that time, even my days, wasn't even much podcasts, it was more like some documentaries and stuff. So that was an area that I enjoyed. And then I looked at myself in my private life. In my private life, I've always been that go-to guy where everyone comes to me and wants to share their problems or share what they're feeling, I've always been open. And I don't know if it's an energy that I put out, but I'm always welcoming in that space. And I used to feel good about helping people just by giving some form of advice, right? But of course, in order to go deeper into the mind, because of understanding it, you need to be able to have certain tools. You have to actually be to really make effective change. It has to happen on a deeper level within us, right? And we call this the unconscious mind, right? Or people call it the subconscious. So that intrigued me, and I wanted to learn more about it. So going back to my time in Pokhara around, I think that was around 2018, going to 2019, I was researching, and I set an intention to find something that allows me to help others.
Yeah.
And I came across a few institutes, I came across a few places that gave certain programs and levels, and I was intrigued by it. So I was like, okay, let me do a call. So then I started with RSCI. One of my mentors, Robert Simic, is incredible. He's actually one of the best in the world in educating and giving and empowering people with tools. But we're talking practitioner level, right?
Yeah.
Because the what's important to remember, you have a normal life coach.
Yeah.
Then you have what is actually a master coach, and then you have a practitioner, and then you have a master practitioner.
Okay.
That's the sort of the sequence. So a life coach is someone that has, let's just say, standard, or not standard, maybe the word standard is wrong, but have a certain amount of tools, and it's more language, it's more accountability.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
Now, my domain is more understanding the depth of the mind, and then studying the neuroscience and the neurology of the brain and the mind and how it works on an unconscious level, and then get certified or become a practitioner in tools.
Okay.
But like more deeper, right?
Yeah.
So for some quantum therapy or neurolinguistic programming practitioner level. So you get these sort of things.
Okay.
So I thought to myself, okay, that was my intention, is if I want to help, I need to have value, and I need to actually help effectively.
Yeah.
So there's change. Like
Yes.
people want change. They don't want to feel good for 5 minutes. You have a nice conversation, you cry, you feel good, but then 2 weeks later you're in the same pattern.
Yeah.
Right? That's
Yeah,
what
yeah.
happens to most people.
Yeah.
They have to get distracted to change their state.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So fundamentally, it was more about how can I make effective change, and then that started my journey. And then I went to multiple institutes, did many courses online, including getting to the work of Dr. Joe Dispenza, doing all his courses, doing his retreats, really going deep into the quantum model of reality, and then starting to connect the dots of different levels of mind. Right. So that started to fire me up in my learning journey.
Yeah.
But I was very blessed, and I want to bring this to make it very important. I had some capital that I could have gone, let me go buy a property,
Yeah.
or let me go invest in myself.
Okay.
Okay, so I made that decision, which again, in my time and in my world at the time, was a very high risk.
Yeah.
Because people work a lifetime to make X amount and then they invest.
Yeah.
So I was like, no, I want something that is going to, I believed in myself, which is important to believe in yourself, that you can make change as long as you learn and you understand the tools.
Yeah.
So that was my investment. So I was like, okay, I'm going to put that back into me, into myself. And that gave me the room to study, to make time, because part of that is living. You have to pay the bills and stuff, right? So I set out a plan. I was like, okay, this is going to be like a year, 2-year plan where I'm not going to rely on anyone outside. I'm going to rely on me, and I'm going to be focused on studying and putting in hours and hours of work and doing the different courses and institutes, because that will be my reward eventually, right? So that was sort of my process or decision making, if that answers the question.
Yeah, it does.
Long answer.
No, definitely. It actually makes sense.
Yeah.
And it's funny because, a lot of people nowadays, again, I think maybe it's because of the old mindset, I would call it. For example, my dad, he's like, save a lot of money. And I'm like, save where? Save, put it aside. Because, they've always had that. For example, their childhood was, my dad seen the worst in terms of, he lost everything and he had to rebuild everything by himself.
Same as my dad.
So, they've come from that background where they've seen it all, they lost it, and then they had to put the hard work, My grandfather passed away from cancer and he had to take care of 3 other brothers. So I understand his point. At that time it was hard. But sometimes I'm like, Dad, I know you want to save, but you can invest. Like, I want to invest in me and I want to invest in getting better. And that's why I like to do so many things to learn more, about myself, about the things that I do enjoy. Because at the end of the day, I believe we've got only one life, I don't want to come to a point where you regret what will happen if something happened to you.
And I honor you for that. It's a very few people take that mindset today. You know, when I work with my clients and my students from all around the world, and I'm doing these things, I'm always working and making them understand that we need to have an abundant mindset. We need to have a mindset that's not lack, because we've been conditioned over the years to, again, go for certainty, go for making the money and saving. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's a good thing to have. But as long as it's not taking away from your life force, it's not taking away from you living life and living and finding that, again, going back to that excitement and being able to be comfortable in the unknown.
Exactly.
I've never been freer in my life since the last 8 years. Before that, I wasn't a free man.
Yeah.
I wasn't. And I look back today and I look back and I go, if I didn't step out into the unknown, if I didn't bet on myself, I wouldn't have a wellness brand today. I wouldn't have an academy with an amazing business partner out in the US. I wouldn't have my own coaching practice. But I had to believe in myself. And this is why when I work with everyone, I said the most important baseline for you to create anything in your life is you got to believe in yourself. And if you don't believe in yourself, that's fine. Let me help you change that. Okay. Because usually what stands in the way from our self-belief is unconscious conditioning of thinking or making decisions that we're not good enough or we're not worthy, right? And that's okay. I mean, it's not every single human being, whether they know it or they don't, they have some form of conditioning which creates some form of insecurity. Most of the time, the ego stands in the way and they don't want to admit it, you know?
True. Yeah, I agree. There's a lot of people like that.
Yeah, there is,
yeah,
right?
Yeah,
So understanding that, okay, if I really want to follow my excitement or I want to do something new in my life, I got to start believing in myself. I got to push myself to go, you can do it.
Yeah.
Even if you are coaching yourself internally and you have your inner voice, as long as your inner voice is in your side, not negative self-talk that's you can't do this, and that's usually the voice of our parents or our society or our school or whoever growing up saying, pick the right thing, do the safe thing, just fall in line.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And yeah, fall in line, that's okay. But if it's not serving you, if it's not something that you're happy and you're honest with yourself, then change needs to happen, right?
I agree. And you know, one thing before, I have a question to ask you, but before that, you know, I believe that a lot of people think it's only money-wise. You know, a lot of people are driven about, okay, I need to make X amount of money, because obviously money today provides us security, provides us a better life, a lot of good things.
Why do you think people want money?
Why do people want money? I think it's to be able to feel more safe, I believe.
Most people unconsciously want money because they want freedom.
Exactly.
Right?
Safe and freedom,
and the illusion that freedom is going to come from you doing something in a 9 to 5, that's not freedom.
Yeah.
Right?
I agree.
That's not freedom. So understanding that you have to define within you, what is freedom to you? What is that lifestyle where you're able to do what you need to do when you need to do it? That's the movement within the mind. That's the awareness.
Yeah.
A lot of the time we think that's what I'm saying. People think money is such a blessing because it makes our life easy.
100%.
But it doesn't bring happiness. That's for sure. I've seen it with clients that are multimillionaires I work with sometimes, especially in the trading space. And if the money's not fulfilling, that's why they want to do different things. That's why they want to, you know, move in their purpose and have something to leave behind.
I agree. That's actually so true, because I was in a position about 3 weeks ago where it was a very good opportunity coming to me with a big salary. And when that opportunity came, it was the most stressful week of my life, because it was an internal battle with myself where I was like, okay, this amount of money can help me do XYZ, but I know I will not be happy. I know I will be almost like a slave, because I know how I am. If I'm gonna have to be like in that position for God knows when, until I'm satisfied with the amount of money I guess I've made. it was an internal, the amount of people I've called and I've been like, I don't know what to do. Do you think I should take it? Obviously, opinion were like, yes, no, yes, no. I go to, again, my parents are separated, but it was very funny. I go to my dad, who was a successful businessman. And for the first time in his life, he said to me, he's like, darling, if you don't feel it's right, it's fine. It's not always about money. And I've never heard anything like that coming from my dad. And my mom, because she's worried for her little daughter, she was like, take it. You can do it. And I was like, yeah, I know I can do it. But I will sacrifice my happiness. I will sacrifice that light that I have in me. And I've been working so hard in keeping that light up. And the decision was like, okay, I cannot start now. And if it's meant to be, maybe in the future I would do it. But right now I've got other things that I want to focus on. And I cannot sacrifice these other things that I'm dreaming about. That maybe right now is worthless, but they are dreams that I believe and I really want to make them happen. And I just and I was like, okay, you know what? I have to take the action. I called the person. I said, listen, thank you. I really appreciate what you're giving to me. Right now, I cannot provide you what you want because I know that I'm not in the right mindset and that it would also kill me from deep within. And if you'd asked me the same question a couple of years back, I would just say yes blindly because I needed that security. I needed that money freedom. I was finding ways of, I need to help my mom. I need to help X person. I need to help XYZ. It was not even about myself. It was about how can I help the people that I love? How can I grow for even this podcast? And I was just like, okay, I need to think about that. It would be very good investment. And I don't know, there was this inner voice in me who told me like, my gut just did not feel right with that decision. And then, I don't know, for the first time I listened to my gut.
Well, congratulations on listening to your higher mind. So our body, the language of the body is emotions. And when we listen to our body, what we're listening to is our deeper self, our unconscious mind. And when you have that gut feeling that something is in your body saying no, and you listen to it, that is, you're following your higher self, your intuition. And that's going to lead you to something greater because you're trusting. And when we trust, the reward comes. But when we don't trust, we are suppressing ourselves and we're going for what the mind is telling us or our conditioning, right? And that's the field. So honestly speaking, I'm very proud of you. And I say this to you as a friend and I look at you as a little sister. I'm proud of you because very few people follow that intuition, although it's screaming in many people's, heads sometimes, or it's a scream. And that's principle number 2. So it looks like I'm breaking down some principles today. So if people watch the whole podcast or they listen to it, they'll get some nuggets. So principle number 2 is to take action. So when we follow something that is inspiring to us or exciting and it feels good in our body, that's the feedback, that's the electromagnetic field, frequency speaking. And when we follow through, that's the action. So in the physical realm, we have to take action. Right? In the mind, which is the electromagnetic field, we have to listen to that. So we take instruction and the way we play it into the space is through taking action. And the action gets you closer. One step will get you closer and will lead you to here, maybe left, maybe. And sometimes it doesn't look like you're getting anywhere. But all of a sudden, you get the sign. You get the synchronicities, right? And you start to wake up and you're like, oh my gosh. I look back and I'm like, thank God I didn't go for that thing. Thank God I didn't back down on, you know how many job opportunities I got it was like such a test the first 2 years. Because everyone knew in my space, because I had a good reputation in the media industry here. And I was managing Saudi Arabia, Dubai, UAE, and Jordan. And I was like traveling a bit and I had a whole team. And when everyone was shocked because when I resigned, because I was the head here, I became the head. When I resigned, people thought that I owned the company. They were like, "Where are you going? Are you closing the company?" I'm like, no, I'm an employee. But the way because if you take your job seriously, people thought this guy's fully invested. Like I had high stress levels as well in that space.
Mm-hmm.
But understanding that shift of where I was and where I am today, and I look back and I'm like, okay, that was the best thing for me. And when I got tested over 2 years of getting money like you, and even more than I was earning a few of them, a part of me was like, just go with the interview. You have nothing to lose. Just, So I got an interview. So I was like, I'm just going to do the interview.
Yeah.
But in my whole body, I left the half that space. But I just want to know, I want to see how much they will pay me,
Yeah.
And I was like, and I'm like not caring. You see, this is why the guys that are looking for jobs, when you go for a job interview and you don't care, energetically speaking, they will want you. It's like it's known as this with or without you energy.
This is so true. This is so
And then
true.
I was like, and then literally I got to offers and I was like, what the hell is this? It's like, this is the universe is really testing me. Like, and I'm like, no. And conditioning, mind,
Mm-hmm.
take it, body's going, don't take it. So we listen to our body, we listen to our inner intuition and how it makes us feel. That's why moving from thinking to feeling is very important in our life. We don't do that enough.
That's true.
We don't do it enough, right?
That's true. I agree.
So going into that, like a lot of times I work with clients and say, what do you think about this? Or what do you think? I'm like, how do you feel about it? Feel into it. How do you feel about it? Oh, actually, it feels right. Great. Go ahead. Too much thinking here.
Yes. I think nowadays people have, me including,
Yeah.
I'm also talking
Yeah.
about, is that we've been, I think, conditioned to always feel you have to think logic, make the logic decision. And if you ever take a decision that you've been listening to your gut, like we say, it was considered as a crazy action, But the more and more I've been embracing that, it's something that I've been doing very recently. I've always tried to make logic decision. And then it's been a couple of months, I would say. I've been now following really my gut and what's my inside saying? Is it saying yes or is it saying nah? If it's like a deep no, or like even an ounce of hesitation, I would be like, okay, what's happening just now, And
It's like a muscle, right?
exactly. It's so funny. Like till now, I'm always surprised how our body can react and give us all the alert and all the sign that you need to learn, but you just need to actually be a bit more attentive to them,
100%.
But now I want to know about we've been talking about what you've been doing,
Yes.
which is coaching people,
Yeah.
helping people. The question that I had to you was, what is, you said about believing in yourself, but there's sometimes, I feel life in general is like a roller coaster. There are high days, there are up days, there are days you feel a bit meh.
Yeah.
And let's say when those days happen and you don't believe in yourself, what do you do to bring that back and help you to still know that you're doing the right thing and that you're on the right track?
Very good question. I think fundamentally speaking, we need to understand that we go back to the beliefs, right?
Yeah.
The reason beliefs are very important because beliefs are programs at the end of the day, and they activate and unactivate based on what's happening in our external world, right?
Yeah.
So most of us, whether we're aware of it or not, we have made or have certain beliefs that are limiting.
Yeah.
Okay, they limit us, right? And some of them are stronger than others, but they're there. And what happens with how does that actually work? So all beliefs are decisions.
Yeah.
Whether we decide it or not, an experience happens, someone said something to us, repetition, things happen in our environment. Consciously or unconsciously, we decide to be a certain way. I am like this.
Yeah.
And you do it 3-4 times, that rehearsal in the mind becomes hardwired in our brain, and that becomes part of our identity and personality. So the first thing to remind everyone is that all of that is changeable. So if I'm not having a great day because my external world it's not going the way I want to, or things are not moving the way I want to, that is revealing something to me internally. Because in theory, and the right mind is to not have that neural pathway going, hey, this is a reminder that you're not good enough.
Yeah.
This is a reminder that you can't. This is a reminder. So that in its essence shouldn't be in your system. So that in its essence needs to be conditioned differently. So you work on different tools to rewire that, to let go of that and how it makes you feel. Because what's happening externally, something's happening. You're having a feeling, and that feeling has a meaning.
Yes.
So it goes back into the records and go, hey, this feeling, what does that make me think? Oh, it makes you think that you're not good enough. Oh, okay. This starts to play in your mind. It's a thought process. It's a thought pattern. So to answer your question, always look into understanding the depth of what beliefs you have to make sure that they're not called upon when you are not getting what you want. So they need to be in alignment, that you're always good enough.
Yeah.
Things are going well or not going well, period. You're always good enough. You're always worthy.
Yeah.
I don't need to have any external results or any external feedback that makes me think otherwise. That's the baseline. That's the fundamental that we all need to work on, or do the deep work, or affirmation, whatever you want to call it. Although affirmations for me, I don't agree with very much. In my model of the world, I only allow for affirmations to come into play when the beliefs is in your nervous system.
Yes.
Because you can say something until you're blue in the face, but if you don't believe it, you can't connect with it energetically speaking.
I agree.
Right? Emotionally speaking. So you have to learn that at the fundamental level, have that ingrained, integrated, that this, I am good enough, or I am this or whatever, then that can fuel it, which is great, right?
Exactly.
So coming back to that answer, and just to be clear, number one, it shouldn't be happening. Just to be very transparent. Number two, when it does, you have to have the mindset that will automatically change it and go, it's going to work out. There's something for me to learn here, and I believe in myself.
Yeah.
Right? That's the autonomic response you want in your mind. It overrides not having a great day. We all don't have good days, but it shouldn't go to that depth of questioning us.
Yes. Okay.
You know what I mean? Does that answer the question?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
And I'm going to keep that in mind, honestly.
Well, my intention is I'm speaking to you right
honestly,
now. I'm not speaking to anyone.
I'm sorry to the listeners, but honestly, right now it's like I'm having a private session with you.
Well, look, you are worthy of all of this. You know what you're doing and being here and starting and following your purpose, following your passion. I'll give you as much time as you want. I honor people like that.
Thank you.
I really do.
I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
No worries.
So, okay, that was beautiful. I'm just trying to think about what you just said, and it really touched me. And
please, receive that. Yeah.
And you know what it made me think when you were telling about resetting your mind? It's almost like you're training. Correct me if I'm wrong.
For conditioning. What is conditioning is? When you condition yourself for a marathon, when you condition. So you're working on training and changing old ways of thinking to new ways of thinking.
Exactly.
Old ways of being to new ways of being. Right?
And I think anything, and people think it's going to be easy to just be like, oh, it's just a change of mindset, a change. It is hard because like we were talking from the very beginning, our brain, our mind is set to what our parents taught us, and our parents has a mindset from what their parents taught us. So it's leading like back to God knows how many generations back. And we are now, the beauty of now, like this generation, is that we have all the tools, we have people like you who can guide us and show us that, you know, you can go beyond that. You know, you can
break the pattern.
You can break that pattern. And this has been something that I kept telling to myself. Because, for example, when I see my parents, I love them to the core. They are my life. But there are certain things that when I see the similarity, I'm like, no, that you have to stop that, because you know that this is where they're struggling and you don't want to be struggling like that. So I keep saying to myself, I have to break that pattern. I have to break that pattern. Very good. And it's like, literally, I'm saying this to myself, but I'm also making the action that will come with it.
Follow it, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because I believe it's one thing to say, but it's another thing to do. And that is the hardest part, when you take that action and you're like, okay, I have to work on myself now. It's like, this is not.
It's uncomfortable, right? When we change is uncomfortable, but that's the best signal to know that something is changing.
Yeah.
A lot of the time we think, oh, it's going to change, I'm just going to do that. 95% of who you are is a set of programs that is on repeat. 60 to 70,000 thoughts you think a day is of yesterday. You are a set of programs reacting to your external world. And until you know that, as the wise one of the leading human psychologists, Carl Jung, said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. Most people think that they are in control, and sadly, they're not.
Yeah.
Until they wake up, like what you are doing, and going, no, I'm aware. I can see patterns in my parents that I don't want to take into my reality, and that's going to be uncomfortable. I need to change it. So I repeat it in my mind and I connect with it. What does that action look like? And you take it. And first time it's uncomfortable. Second time it's uncomfortable. Third time it gets a bit easier, right?
Yeah.
And you know what I'm talking about, right? So now it's like, oh, that's not too bad. And now I can do this, and now I can step into that. And for me, like I said to you, true freedom lies within the ability to be comfortable in the unknown.
Okay.
And I'm speaking from my own personal experience. For us to be truly free, and I mean free from the core, to financially free, to living a life of true freedom, we have to be okay with not in control of everything and not knowing what might happen a few weeks, months, years from now. But in the space and time, meaning in the now moment, how do you feel? I feel free. Are you able to get up on a plane and travel where you want in the world, or work whatever you want in the world, or do whatever you want? Yes. Then I am free now. And now you sustain that, you embody that, and then you obviously share that with others, because it's the truth in our experience, it's the truth in what we're doing, but it's also the parts of us that had to go through that. Because everything you're saying, I've been through it, obviously, right? Everything you're going, that's why when I look at you, I see a younger, smaller version of me that is trying to figure that out. And I'm proud of it. That's why I said, like, we had conversations off camera at Moolah, and I'm like, you're in the journey. You can see that. It's gonna be uncomfortable, but of course it's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Then you're not growing if it's comfortable.
100%. Yeah, and I think I am the first one who doesn't like that uncomfortableness. It's that moment of doubt, that moment where it's like an internal battle with myself. It's literally like all my organs are fighting against each other, and you're like, oh my God, please stop. And then it's funny because it happened just before my trip to Thailand.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And then again, I just had to hop out. And it's funny because these things happens they know when to happen, if you get what I mean. Because as soon as I reached Thailand and I was out with my friend, my brain was just switched off. And I was able to take a step back. And now when I came back from Thailand, that's when I understood, like, okay, you can't always jump on a plane and take a step back. You need to learn, whenever things get overwhelming, whenever things are getting uncomfortable,
yes,
how do you step back when you are here in Dubai, where life is coming at you? Dubai is a place where it's constantly happening.
That's the frequency.
It's ongoing.
Yeah.
And now I'm just in between. I'm in that search, I'm like, okay, what do I actually need? What do I need to put it as my top one to actually be like, okay, maybe it is once a week being by myself, and only by myself, doing one thing that I like, to be able to think. Because with so many things happening, being around so many people that I'm truly blessed, and I love everyone around me. But like we were saying again in the beginning, we have to sit with ourselves and our thoughts, because if we don't do that, we're not able to process exactly what is happening.
100%. And that's beautifully and well said. I think the idea of spending time with ourselves, and I encourage also quiet time, is the ability to step out of the program.
Yes.
The ability to review what's in our thoughts that are happening in the back end, becoming aware that we're aware, and also becoming and asking ourselves important questions. You know, the thing is, we forgot a lot of our ancient wisdom as well. Like we are, you know, I'm all about the modern science and everything I do, but I love to still go back and connect that with the modern science and go, well, what was our, you know, the ancient wisdom say in terms of reflection, in terms of listening, in terms of asking the right questions. And there's always an answer. If you get into a coherent space and you ask questions, you will get the truth that comes within you. And that's the first thing that comes up. Usually it's the first thing that comes up, because the moment, you know, we have the mind, the analytical mind and the unconscious mind.
Yeah.
And when we quiet ourselves, the analytical mind parks aside.
Yeah.
And when you ask yourself certain things like, what do I want to create? What do I want to do? Is this the right decision or not? There's an inner voice that comes up, it arises. And that's the essence of you, the inner being.
Yeah.
And and through that, you can ask questions and you can get guidance. And what you're doing now, especially, I always recommend that, especially when there's bumpiness or transition, you have to put yourself first.
Yeah.
You have to make time for yourself. You have to set those healthy boundaries. Principle number 3. Boundaries are super important for us to create, right? For us to reflect. Because if you constantly wanting to listen to people or make time for others, and you know, you do that because you want to, you do that, you want to be nice. But if you're not making time for you, you're not able to get the answers that you want, because you're getting it from outside of you. And that's really usually not always the right guidance.
Yeah, and I agree. And I think some people think that putting you first, me first, I'm talking about myself right now. Sometimes I felt that I am selfish.
That's a limiting belief.
And I'm like, oh, am I being selfish right now? I remember, again, coming back to that situation that happened to me, and I called a friend. I was telling him over the phone, I was like, yeah, but I feel like I'm being selfish. And he said to me, Lavia, you are the most selfless people that I've known in my life. And I was like, I still don't believe you, but fine. If you say so, thank you. Appreciate it. And then I realized that, yes, it's fine. It's okay. It's okay to do what is important to me, because that's why it's my life. It's our, you know, when you say it's my life, you need to do what is right for you. And I'm so glad that you mentioned about healthy boundaries, because I think this is something very important. This is something that I have applied, and I can't say how much this has been helpful. And it is hard sometimes, but once you are able to apply it, you feel so good afterwards.
I'll give you a little hack, or actually something that helps us in the awareness. When we set healthy boundaries in our life, we have to also perceive it as elevating our self-worth. So the more we say no and the more we put ourselves first, we're actually, our higher mind, when it sees, okay, Lamia, she's saying no, she wants to spend time with herself, she's putting herself first. The analytical mind, your conditioned mind goes, oh, that's selfish. Oh, why? Maybe I shouldn't be doing that. And there's like guilt that comes up, right? And that usually comes, by the way, from unconscious insecurities, because what we're doing is we want to be loved. We want people to like us unconsciously, or it's like it's an unconscious process. That's why unconscious. And we don't want to say no. I want people to, want me, around, and I don't want them next time not to think about me. I want them, so I don't want to say no, right? But that's the analytical. When we move that aside and we show the higher mind, which is our higher self, going, Lamia saying no, she's putting herself first. Wow, she really loves me.
Exactly.
Wow, she really, really, really cares for me time. And what that does internally, it starts to add credit. I always say this to my clients sometimes. I'm like, just think about it as a bank account, right?
Okay.
And in order for you to add credit to elevate your self-worth, you have to do certain things that shows that. So healthy boundary, putting yourself first, saying no, doing what you really feel like doing, saying what you really feel like saying, not holding back, speaking your truth. All of these behaviors translate to credit of elevating your self-worth. And when we elevate our self-worth, we also build more inner trust and self-belief. because that's a whole interconnection, right?
Yeah.
So as I have more self-worth within my being, with my light, who I am, that allows me to demand things that I want to create for myself.
Yeah.
I'm worthy
Yeah.
of it.
Yes.
You know, you are worthy of having one of the most successful podcasts coming out of Dubai and going global. You're worthy of it. And you need to feel into that I am worthy. So I'm going to take the action steps, but I'm worthy. I believe I am worthy of it. It's not that I need it to happen now and it has to happen this time or that time. No, I am worthy.
Yeah.
And as we understand that, the actions follow, the energy follows, everything else starts to follow. But with that identity, with that embodiment is boundaries.
100%. I love it. Honestly, I could listen to you for ages because it's so true, Sam. Like, honestly, there's another occasion where I felt that was I used to be fat, very, very fat.
Oh, I wouldn't imagine that.
I will show you after.
Really?
I used to be fat.
Okay.
And then I was extremely skinny. I went through all kind of eating disorders that you can believe.
Wow.
Because for me, food was either my enemy or my comfort in my life, I would say.
Okay.
And even when I reach my healthy weight and a healthy relationship with food and not seeing it as a comfort or enemy, I had so much issues with my confidence, with
your appearance.
My appearance. Like, for example, going to the beach was one of the toughest time for me. I would really, really struggle with that.
Okay.
Being around other girls that I would see more attractive, I would be like, failed relationship. So many things. Like, for example, 3/4 of the time, you would see me in oversized clothes. Because it's funny, so I always liked wearing oversized clothes, but I only found that afterwards when I started to work on myself that it was all because I was trying to hide behind the clothes, you know? And another thing is so many people, my close friend used to tell me, you're so beautiful. You're an attractive woman. You're not, I would not believe it. I'd be like, okay, thank you. That's it.
Perception is projection, as Carl Jung would say. So no matter what you tell me, no matter what you say of how I look or how nice I am, it all is how I perceive myself.
Exactly.
It's all internal. So if I think I'm not good looking or I'm not pretty, I look in the mirror and I'll see the exact same projection of that. And others will see something differently, you know? So so that's why changing the perception of self is fundamental
100%
to everything, because it's actually, you know, when people go out there and they want to dress the best and they want to look the best or they want to start wearing big clothes or whatever, they're always trying to prove something.
Yes.
But the reality is they're trying to prove something to outside of them, to the people and the society and things, but really they're trying to prove something to themselves.
Exactly.
Right? It's the relationship with themselves. 100%. The moment they free the relationship with themselves, feeling that I am good enough, I am beautiful enough, doesn't matter how much I weigh or how much money I have, and that changes everything externally. Now you start to see more of that in your world, in your reality, you know?
I agree.
So fundamental to, you know, the principles we're speaking about, internal perception shift is a must.
100%.
You know?
And it did, because when I finally sat with myself, no makeup, no hair done, and I looked at myself in the mirror and I could finally say, you are beautiful, and believe what I was saying.
That's powerful.
That is when the shift happened. That's when I was like, you know, the little roll.
And you can receive it now. If I tell you are beautiful,
yes,
you receive it.
I
right?
receive it,
and it's beautiful, right? And I also say this. It's also important just for our listeners or our viewers. We're so conditioned again. When someone gives you a compliment, like, no, you look nice.
Yes.
No, your hair, Lamia, your hair is beautiful. You really look like you're glowing after the holiday. No, you're being nice and your hair's nice. Oh, you're looking nice. So quickly we divert it, right?
Yeah.
And again, remember the game of credit I'm talking about?
Yes.
One best practice and a good behavior is when someone compliments you, even if you don't believe it and you want to, take a moment, pause, thank you, well received.
Yes.
and take that in and train your mind, train your body to start receiving those compliments, not because of your ego, but because you want to build your self-worth. You want to, especially when it's coming from someone authentic, right?
Yes.
When you know someone is honest or nice and someone you take the opportunity of receiving that and going, he's really saying that because he means it. He's not just saying that to be nice.
Yes. I agree.
Right? That's important,
100%. I
Amazing.
agree. And honestly, to celebrate that, what I did, I said it in one of the sharing circle that we had in Mulai. I booked a photo shoot with a friend of mine, and we had 3 different outfits. One was and it was very, I just told her I want to show all the version of me in one photo shoot, but the most important one, I want to have the one with no makeup and show the world that I am actually beautiful and show myself that I am beautiful without makeup and without hair done.
Beautiful.
So the first concept we did was a very girly outfit, like a flowy dress, hair was done, like to kind of celebrate my inner child, which I think I didn't do enough. And I wanted to bring her out a little bit. That little girl,
Nice.
I wanted to bring her out a little bit. And we did this. Then we moved into that fiery, strong lady, all black, red lipstick.
Love it.
That is the current energy that I am in,
Yes.
because basically I'm working. So this is how...
Embodiment.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the best one was the last one, because I was in a white shirt. And then as she was taking the pictures, I told her, I want you to actually take the pictures when I'm removing the makeup.
Okay.
So I'm here removing my makeup. And then she had the beautiful idea. She's like, can I wet your hair? Bear in mind, I just did my hair a couple of hours before coming here. I was like, yeah, let's do it. She poured water in my hair and we just had fun towards the end of the photo shoot. When I saw the pictures, I was like, oh my God, this is I told her, this is literally the best shot that we had, because it was so genuine. It was the real me.
Yes.
And I was looking at the picture and I was like, you are truly beautiful. You are amazing just the way you are.
It's a great, honestly, whoever's listening, for all the ladies, the young ladies out there, that's a beautiful practice. Yes. I encourage that practice, even if it feels uncomfortable in the beginning, 100%. To definitely go through that and to start to change how you see yourself.
100%, 100%.
So yeah, I think that's powerful. I
Thank you.
really think that. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Talking about principle, how many principles are we missing now?
There's a lot of principles in my world, but the ones we've shared today, the main ones, I would say, really the most important principle is first fundamentally understanding that there are no limiting beliefs in your nervous system, in your mind. Making sure you work on them, making sure they are all integrated to serve you in your life, to serve you in your personality, in your identity, in what you're pursuing, right? Because as one of the saying goes, whether a man believes he can or believes he can't, he's right. So we need to first believe in ourselves and believe that we can create something for ourselves. That's fundamental. When we believe in that, when we start with that baseline, then from there we start to move into principle 2, which is following our excitement, following our passion, being curious like what you are now, exploring, doing, it doesn't have to be big things and like what I did, leave a career. No, you don't have to, but start by simply finding something that is opening you up, that is giving you a little bit of passion or excitement. It could be something small, it could be like reading a book, but doing something different that is in pursuit of your higher self, of your purpose. Because a lot of us don't know what our purpose is, and that's okay. But if we don't start being curious, if we don't start exploring, if we don't start doing some small changes, doesn't have to be massive, 1% change, 2% change to follow some excitement. Principle number 2, extremely important. After we found something, is taking the action.
Yes.
Taking the action is super important, but what happens to most of us, we automatically start to set expectation. So we start to go, oh, now that I'm taking action, I have to have these results by this time. And that's a disaster, right? Because what that does in 2 areas, in this realm, it creates resistance, it creates disappointment, it makes us expect something and it doesn't, so we create frustration. So principle number 3 is to make sure that we are in allowance. We're doing our best that we can now. Am I doing the best I can now? Yes. If the answer is yes, let go. That's it. Let go, and then allow for whatever needs to come through into your life at the right time. It will. Just keep doing what you're doing. Keep doing the best you can in pursuit that is in a path with a heart, a path that is exciting, that is of fulfillment. You know, the reasons all the businesses that I've co-created or created myself in my life today have been with purpose, right? So, you know, New Mind Chaga, you know, Crystal Black, the purpose behind that is changing people's way of perceiving the health of coffee, you know, getting rid of anxiety. A lot of people have anxiety from coffee. So understanding that there is a beautiful mushroom called Chaga that can give you that energy and focus and clarity of the mind so that's a purpose. That's like, it's going to change you. It's going to make you more, you know what I mean? Same thing with what I do with my coaching, letting people understand that we can create a life of freedom, you know, and coming from a true place of embodiment, right? Same thing with my academy, with trading. It's if I look deeper, because I always question myself, why am I doing this? Because I don't want it to be only about energy, money. Money should be, it's a byproduct. But if you're following that excitement, I feel excited about unlocking people's mind so that they can create financial freedom and make change in their life. Imagine how many people that are doing the 9-to-5 jobs that they hate. I know this at the academy. I work with a lot of students there, either part-time doing trading or not, but they're like moving into that space of like, this has a potential. As long as I have the right mindset and I believe in myself and I'm willing to put in the work. Doesn't happen overnight. The idea that come to this and you're going to be financially free in a year, that's nonsense. It's knowing that it's like a college. You do the work, you develop yourself, and then you find financial freedom where you can work anywhere in the world and make money, and that's a form of freedom, right? So anything around freedom has been my sucker, my purpose. Like, how can I unlock this person in their mind, make them free, financially free or free in the mind? Because we need to be free here before we can create any freedom in our life. You know?
I agree.
Yeah. So it's really been a beautiful conversation, Mia. Thank you for. I don't really speak much about my past or my purpose to many because I'm just doing the work. You know, I'm in it. But it's nice to reflect as well and where we are and also the purpose of the mission, you know. There's always a granular mission, you know, unlocking, helping. We all end up creating an age of abundance where there's enough for everyone. We can live a better life. We can live in a new earth where it's not just about me. It's about us. And when you move from me to us, of how can I raise everyone? How can everyone be successful, be free, be happy? And can I be part of that puzzle, right? And if you're raising, when we go from I to we, you're going to get the reward anyway.
Exactly.
You're going to get rewarded anyway because you're part of that movement.
100%.
You know what I mean? You're part of that ecosystem of like, okay, we're all going to rise. We all have our own hero's journey, but ultimately we're going to the same path of living a better, healthier life, a life of freedom, a life of joy, a life of no greed, no lack mindset, open hearts, loving ourselves, changing the world from what's happening, all these wars and everything that's going on in this world. This is us letting ourselves down by disconnecting from who we are, because it doesn't matter about religion or culture or race. It comes back to our essence of our humanity, essence of who we are, right? If I'm human, I don't want anything to happen to my fellow human. That's the baseline.
100%. I agree.
You know?
Yeah.
And that's where people fall into the illusion of separation.
Honestly, Sam, it was beautiful.
Thank you.
You are a great inspiration, and honestly, I would like to have a proper sit down afterwards.
Worries.
I know you're traveling, but when you're back,
with pleasure.
In the last hour, the amount of things that I've learned and I've literally like a sponge took it in is really precious, and I'm truly, truly grateful.
Thank you, Mia. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for having this conversation and being open to receive and sharing your story. I really am inspired by you. When I see someone in those footsteps, like I said, it really I honor them because I know what they're moving through, but the reward is amazing.
Thank you so much. Before I close the episode, I have a closing tradition.
Okay.
I don't know if you're aware of it.
By the way, okay. Yeah, okay.
It's a quick one.
Yeah, sure.
It's called the rapid fire question.
Okay.
It's more or less, I will ask you a couple of questions They're not hard. I don't believe they're hard. They're
As long
just,
as it's not ask me to do calculations right now.
No.
Okay, good.
because I'm bad with numbers. I would never ask my guests
No.
to do.
It's like 10 times 3 minus 1.
No. So let's start easy. Early bird or night owl?
I would say early bird.
Okay.
Yeah.
Forest or sea?
C.
Okay. In your new job, what is your most memorable moment that you've lived?
In my new career, what I'm doing now, what's
yes.
the most memorable moment that I've lived?
That marked you the most?
Doing the work, doing what I do.
Yes.
Wow. There are a few. This is a tough one, Mia, because I have a lot of cases over the years.
Should I say top 3 maybe?
Yeah, I think it's difficult because there's a lot. It's different situations, if you know what I mean. It's different experiences. I would say to make it easy, helping someone that was on the verge of being suicidal, and having to take them from that dark place with the work that I do and the tools that I do to seeing them flourish, finding a partner, and being in a very healthy and happy place in their life today. And seeing the shift happen quite dramatically as well was very impactful because I felt, and I don't want to be egoic here, but I felt like I saved someone's life, literally. Right.
Yeah.
And I do a lot of work, and sometimes I pinch myself to go, well, I just helped this one get out of this, and this one have anxiety for like it's 5 years, and now they're off the medication and stuff like that. That's always nice compliments. But that in particular, that case was quite close to home, where I didn't realize that person was to that level, and when they opened up, I just went all in. And it was quite rewarding to be part of. Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Thank you.
It's beautiful. Okay. If you could live anywhere, where would it be?
If I could live anywhere, where would it be? Wow. I think it depends, because this is a question me and Stacey always ask ourselves, because we have the freedom to travel and to move a lot of places. There is something very, very, very glorious about Dubai in terms of what it offers and the safety. So I would pick Dubai. Truthfully, I would pick Dubai as a place, as a home, but it would have to come under a very strong term.
Okay.
And this term is being able to have the freedom to live a couple of months a year outside and to be in nature, right?
Yeah.
I need my nature fix, and that is Cape Town. That's Cape Town for me. Yes, I like Southeast Asia, but Cape Town is a place where you have to visit if you haven't been, by the way.
It's in my
you know how we talk about
year.
energy of a land when you land and experience? There is something very, very unique, and I'm not biased. I lived there, yes, but I've traveled, quite a bit of different places. There's something very unique about that land, the vibration, the feeling, the people. So that is the nature feeds my soul.
The next trip is actually for next year. Is actually Cape
Perfect.
Town.
Just talk to me, and I'll give you all that you need to do. All that you need to do. Perfect.
sure.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Amazing.
All right. If you had any superpower, which one would it be and why?
If I had any superpower, which one would it be and why? I think reading people's mind is a very powerful, because it will make my life so much more easier with my work. I'll be like, okay, I know what you need. This is what you need, instead of having to get it out of them. Because my work requires a lot of the time reading people's mind, actually, and I get to learn through linguistics. I can trace a lot of things with their language, but it would be way easier if I could just hear their thoughts.
That's really, I had that actually in mind when I wrote that question down.
Really?
I was like, maybe he would choose that, but let's see.
Yeah.
Anyway, my last question is, if you could give one advice to your younger self, which one would it be?
Follow what truly inspires you. Follow your inspiration when you're in spirit. Follow that. Follow your excitement. I would have done that earlier in my life, instead of listening to the conditioning.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's been an honor to have you here.
Thank you.
And thank you for sharing
Thank you for having me.
your wisdom with us. And it's truly a golden episode.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to love you and leave you, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.